Look at that. You got young Tony just he got Rags' attention there. We were talking off air and he heard that. He said, "Oh, hey, wait, I know that."
He said, "That's me."
Dave Righetti, come on.
Mel.
Rags.
How
Hey
are
guys. Good morning. See ya.
you? You pitched well that day.
Yeah, I got them all out. And except Jim Rice said, he wasn't that good today. I said, it's okay. I'll take it.
Hey, just for fun, just while we're on that, Dave Righetti's no-hitter on the 4th of July at Yankee Stadium. Was that one of those days where in the pen you knew you had it?
No.
No.
No, honestly, when I was that young, you felt like you had it all the time.
Yeah.
Honestly. But, yeah, I know it's been a while to talk about, but it was hot. It was hot as 4th of July. It was about 95, a ton of humidity, and it was a day game after a night game, and they've been beating our rear ends pretty good for a couple of days. So I was just trying to slow them down a little bit because they had a hell of a lineup. But, yeah, I picked the right day.
I think I'm trying to remember that year. Would Mike's grandpa have been in the lineup? Was Carl Yastrzemski in the lineup that day?
No.
Would he have retired at
But
that
we
point?
had,
Yeah.
you know what, son of a gun, a lot of lefties didn't face me back then. A lot of guys disappear. I won't mention, but Mr. Yastrzemski didn't. And to me, I think out of all the hitters, and you faced Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, all these guys, but I think facing Yaz was my favorite baseball memory almost, outside of, your team. And I got to face the Yaz, Seriously. It's not because young Yaz is here, but to me, that was quite a thrill.
He's iconic. He is,
Yeah, right. The way he carried himself, and, the bat, and Red Sox, the whole thing, right? It's just cool. Yeah, and he won the Triple Crown.
Yeah. When you were growing up as a kid, he won the Triple Crown, and
Sure
you were like,
did.
now this guy's in the box. He had that strange kind of stance.
He was a low ball hitter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I knew from Gidry, he took good at bats off of Gator, and I wasn't gonna throw any low fastballs, so I carried the ball up on his bat and ran balls away from him, but he always played.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was which was fun for me.
That's great memories,
If he didn't
man.
beat me up, I don't know what he did off me. He probably
We'll look it up. Now we can look that stuff up online, right?
Yeah.
Dave Righetti versus Carl Yastrzemski, career records.
Can you?
And Dave, I think it's great that you kind of have that perspective and that mindset, especially with such a young pitching staff this year, to know what it's like to step up on the bump against some of these bigger than life superstars, whether we're talking about guys in the Dodgers lineup or across the entire MLB, whether it's Kyle Harrison or some of these younger guys. What's that perspective going into those at-bats?
I knew it was like that back then because getting to the big leagues was no easy chore. And, it was less teams. There was, especially in New York, it was very demanding. And if you weren't George was going to go get a veteran somehow. And for me to stay up there, I had to be good all the time. So I had that pressure of being good from the day one. I couldn't just step in, he's flourishing. No, I had to be good. And a lot of those veterans reminded you of take care of our money, so to speak. But so as a young guy, I probably tried to act older. In baseball terms, being on the field, that part was easy for me. But as I was 20. So, what was I doing? So I was just trying to carry myself like I was supposed to be there. But once you get on the mound, if you're afraid of being there, you won't do well. You'll struggle, maybe hurt yourself a little bit. But honestly, I felt like I belonged there. So, and then when they start booing you, you feel like going somewhere else. But yeah, and I do. That's a great question because these guys now, they come up so fast. They've been talked about since A-ball practically, in our area, especially the local guys. And, I wonder, we worry about them getting ready too fast. It's not like any other sport. A pitcher's arm you got to take care of it, and you worry about the overthrowing. And I don't mean too many. I mean the effort that they put in early scares me sometimes. Yeah.
We're talking to Dave Righetti, of course, 3-time World Series champ, and he's back in Scottsdale, and that's great. Let's start there, actually, because obviously, when you and Boch step aside and 2019, things change, new environment, new manager, and now you get a call.
Yeah.
In 2024. And tell us about that, getting the call to get invited back here.
Yeah, in general, every year I would Kyle Haynes, our minor league, that runs the minor leagues, basically. he is in the past has always reached out, and I've always come to minor league camp and spent time, and then go to San Jose and occasionally Sacramento, and a lot of time here in Arizona with our real young guys. So that's kind of been my deal.
So, yeah.
So I've been here the whole time. I
Okay.
just haven't gone up near the ballpark. But in this case, I don't know, Brian called me almost the next day after he got hired and said, I need you to get over the big league camp. And I said, I appreciate it. And I thought about it, and he goes, I'm going to talk to Bob. And next thing you know, you sit down with the wife. Because I know it's not just a little thing. Once I walk over here, people are going to talk about, well, what is he doing here and why in uniform? And so I'm ready to answer those questions. It's about Giants pitching, so I'm very excited to be here, yeah.
Well, it's great to see you back in a Giants uniform, and I think a lot of fans are excited to see Pablo Sandoval back in a Giants uniform. How has that kind of relationship been, and with Pablo being back in the building?
Oh, he's great. I loved him. He was like my until Crawford kind of grew into that. Pablo was my guy when I got on the hill with anybody who had trouble with my vernacular on the mound. And Pablo was great. He was a field general. He's a baseball guy, and he was always into it. He had energy every day, and personally, we got along great. And I used him a lot, and it's great to see him here.
And is there any chance that Pablo's going to be on the bump at all during spring training, throwing any bullpens or anything like that?
I didn't mention that to him, but the way people think now these days, who knows where he might end up. But he was the one guy that could do all that stuff. Crawford was another one. There wasn't many, but Pablo was amazing, ambidextrous.
Yeah. Well, while we're on that topic, a couple of guys from that era I wanted to ask you about who are still in the news. One is the manager of the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
And they'll play, Giants playing them Sunday. That'll be on KNBR. John and Dwayne will be on the call. And John and Dwayne will be on the call tomorrow when the
Nice.
Giants play the Cubs at noon. But just your reaction to seeing, I mean, we all had the same feelings and reactions. We've had him
Yeah.
on the show since.
Have you?
Yeah, and he's as typically, gracious and humble and funny and all the things that he is. But just truly from a baseball perspective, him
Yeah.
coming back into that, the team wasn't a winning team, Rags.
No.
And so your download of all that.
Very excited for him, I was an original Ranger, so now I got a chance to root for the Rangers. We had talked about me maybe doing something with him, going over there with him, but basically family and where I was and working here, I thought about it, but I wasn't about to spend my long summers and my head into computers and looking at pitches and things like that. And that's past me now, but I had tears in my eyes. I was excited for him. Same thing for Dusty. I thought it was great for the game. We needed it. We don't need to turn back the clock all the time, but in baseball, you have to. If you don't relish the past or honor it, I think somehow it bites you. And it's just a baseball thing. We thought Flan probably said that, but I know I've heard it for decades, and from guys that played in the 30s and 40s, and you're in the locker room with them, in Old Timers Day or whatever, and but it seemed like it stopped all that, and we were going to reinvent the wheel, and the wheel got straightened out a little bit. So anyway, I can't tell the words. Again, I spent time with Michael Young in the USA Baseball the World Baseball Classic this year and last year. Michael's works in the front office there. I was happy for him. So, yeah, I got to root for a team and not feel bad about it.
It was an incredible time for all of us and just miraculous. I mean, how did that happen? They went to the Rangers. They won the World Series. The other guy who's in the news in 2024, who you were with for a long time, is your old catcher, Buster Posey. Mm-hmm. How about this guy now in the corporate boardroom with the leather seats and all? He's part of the ownership group, and your reaction to that?
Well, I'm not going to call him boss. He is. That's good. I think it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, think about a former player wanting to do that at all and not grow into it. Like, say, coach a few years, be a liaison. Then next thing you know, help out in the front office. He's owning. So he's got a say, and I think that's good for the team. I think it's great. Buster has a way about him that never gets too excited about things, and when you can stay even keel up there and watch things and have a guy like that up there with his eyes and his obviously what he's done for this organization, I think people it's just a plus, and it's a plus in the Giants marker, so to speak.
And I think it's a great resource for someone like Patrick Bailey, obviously
Anybody, yeah.
reaching out to Buster Posey and then bringing in Bob Melvin this year, a former catcher. How much is that going to help improve Patrick Bailey going to his sophomore season?
I think all of them, but I don't know their relationship. I haven't spoke to Buster about it. I see Patrick every day, of course, but yeah, that's a great question. We'll see how that dynamic and how Buster feels about doing, things like that. But my guess is if any of those guys reach out to him, he'll give them his advice on how he feels. And I know Buster won't push that on anybody, but he'd be a willing advice giver. I know that.
And then just to follow up on Patrick, I mean, we saw last year he was a finalist in the Gold Glove category. How impressive was it as a rookie for him to earn the trust from Logan Webb, Alex Cobb to go out there and call the games himself?
Well, that's the big thing. And handle, gosh, how many pitching changes did we have the last few years? But last year, too, a lot. So he went through a lot. That's normally your catchers were, let's start this game. I got my guy, and let's see how far we can go with this. After about 15 minutes, another guy came in and another guy, for a young guy to deal with all that. And I thought he did great. And he gave him a big boost when he first came up immediately. And then as it tapered off, his catching didn't. I know he threw some balls away. He's athletic. And wherever he catches the ball, sometimes he'll release it from there, under a la Thurman Munson. He reminded me of Munson. I told him that. But he's a good athlete. I was glad and happy the way I heard stories about him dealing with all the pitchers and not just certain guys.
Yeah, we're talking to Dave Righetti, who's back in camp helping out the new staff. And of course, he's been around working with young kids, but great to have him here at Scottsdale working with the big club. I have to ask you before you go about Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
And this is a huge cultural shift, right? And this is obviously, like you, tremendous Bay Area ties. And he'll talk to us. He'll talk to us about Niners, Warriors, Sharks, A's,
Right.
Raleigh Fingers, Catfish Hunter, Willie Mays, you name it. So that's the fun part. And then the other part about what he's bringing to this club in 2024.
Right. Well, it's the fun part, and it's a background thing for fans, but for Bob, it's he's connected to the past, and he wants to connect that all the way in the future and win and be a part. The energy level that he'll bring here because of his excitement of it is tremendous. It's not some guy hoping to do well here for a couple of years and they'll go back to Florida. This guy, you're going to get A1 effort, right? Because he's going to live here in the future. And when he started talking, in the car or whatever, I started turning you guys up and listening. And it was just so refreshing to hear that kind of talk again. And then I got the itch. You get the bigger itch. I was always going to be in the minor league camp, but thinking about coming over here got me very excited. And it was, without a doubt, I wouldn't be over here if it wasn't for Brian and Bobby.
And you talked a little bit earlier about baseball kind of trying to reinvent the wheel. And it's something that we talked about earlier with Brian Price about openers and bullpen games. We talked to Matt Williams yesterday. How much of a balance is there in this style and this era of baseball between analytics and more of that old school mentality?
I don't know how to answer it. I just know it went too far the other way. So there was a period of time in the early 2000s, all this was coming in, and we were one of the few teams, we just didn't boast about it and talk about it as a baseball team. But we started using those things, almost from the beginning and testing out different things and how to help a guy. But eventually you had to coach him, and eventually you had to play. And the analytics were formed in a lot of ways to almost like do shortcuts. So in other words, if I got a young kid over there, he's 18, instead of I'm not thinking about getting his value up. I'm thinking about how long can I help this kid right now, and how long will this guy's career last where he can almost anything might happen to him, right, as a ball player, and enjoy success. But if you're thinking about getting his value up in 3 years, and I got him lifting every weight in the world and throwing the ball as hard as he can, yeah, he's going to get physically, he'll pop on the gun and stuff. He'll also pop in that room over there where the trainer is, and they'll be putting zippers on their arms and things like that. So there's a different mindset, and I think that has to, in fact, I think it already has. It's starting to meld back a little bit. And it's fun, the analytics stuff. That's what baseball was all about. But the stuff that we thought were analytics, or they went off, they just changed the names of a curveball to high spin rate, all this stuff, So they were trying to make a place for themselves, and they didn't want anybody to stop that. So they wanted to get as many baseball people out of the way as they could. And that was their game. And that's what they wanted to do and how they wanted to present it. And we all felt that. Yeah, to be honest. But it's deeper than it's just a few words.
Wow. We could go way deep on that, Rags. We'll have to get into that a little bit later.
But it's also interesting, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And we got to let you go, I know, but we didn't ask this.
We're good.
We can't leave without a question about the ace. There's nothing like an ace, right? That's as old as baseball itself. And just Logan Webb.
Yeah.
My only concern is there's almost too much pressure on him. There's 4 kids in the rotation and him. Like, hey, Logan, you're going to go throw 220 innings and have an ERA in the low 3s and be a Cy Young contender, and you just wind him up and let him go. But he's a human being out there.
Absolutely.
What's your philosophy on this?
I think he's handling that pretty good. And you can see it gradually. You guys know that gradually it grows throughout the last couple of years, comments, how he feels about the team, how he feels about being a Giant and things like that. And he's not afraid of it. He welcomes it, I think. And he's there for these guys. He doesn't, I'm sure he feels just as young as they are. So, he's excited. I'm sure he is. And, I've been around guys real good. I started thinking about our best staffs and the staffs that I used to see around baseball, these 4 or 5 man staffs. The Orioles back in the day when they were winning 115 games, things like that with Palmer and all those guys. And I started thinking, where would Logan fit on he's on the team. He'd forget it. I would have loved to put him right behind Bum or something, and just for the dynamics of the hitters having to deal with that those 2 different styles, and then throw Timmy in there. And, he would have been on those teams.
Oh, that's a great answer. That is so awesome.
real
And by the way, the great Darren Chan, DC here, he just gave us the note. 1981, Dave Righetti versus Carl Yastrzemski. 0 for 3.
That was
1
it?
strikeout. You got him.
You got him.
You got him, Rags.
Yeah, and a bunch of speed games, spring trainings. I couldn't believe he was playing in them. But he must have wanted to get early at bats and get out of there before.
Doesn't matter. He never got a knock off you.
I was kind of hoping he hit a homer. I'd watch him run around the bases. Maybe Steinbrenner wouldn't have liked that.
Oh, man. It's great to have you, man. Everybody
Thanks.
back in the Bay is loving it, and we'll
Great
be in
to see you
touch.
guys.
I'm sure we'll be in touch as the
I'm
days
still,
go on.
we're all, don't want to make light of some things, but I'm still in mourning also.
Oh, the Niners.
It was a tough one, but you know what? Proud of them. What the thrills they're giving us is incredible, and that's the way they should think about it. And I got a lot of friends over there and people on the staff, and I don't want those guys to beat themselves up because we went through that.
It reminds me of the 97 to 03 Sabian run where you guys were in it every single year.
Yes.
But those were great days, too. You know what I mean? At the same time.
They were, but we weren't. We didn't seem to get excited about them. They were, what's wrong with? Why can't?
Right. Well,
there was a lot of can't. There was a lot.
Rags. That's how it is right now with the Niners.
Is it?
On
I'm sorry to
KNBR.
hear that. I haven't been listening since I've been here, but they shouldn't. They're fine.
Well, you have the right attitude because you're a
They
pro.
don't run out of money. They'll be okay.
Dave Righetti. It's baseball season, man. Great having you. The kid out of San
Thanks,
Jose.
fellas.
We'll let him go. Mike, the guy we were talking about is next.
That's
Mike
it.
Is he?
Yastrzemski.
Good.
The grandson.
Young
Get
He's
him
next.
healthy. Get him healthy.
On
He'll
KNBR
have a great
1045
year.
and 680, the sports leader.
I was kind of hoping he hit a homer. I'd watch him run around the bases.